I've always rolled my eyes at stories that begin with a found diary, but this time I opened the metal box myself, not in a desert or a classified archive, in a dusty hangar on the outskirts of a small Nevada town where an old collector sold military junk at discount, when a faded green notebook with the worn stamp USAF classified slid out of a footlocker and hit the floor. I picked it up without thinking, just out of curiosity. Inside, the date read 1952, signature L.T. Samuel G. Hark. The handwriting sharp, anxious strokes, like a heartbeat drawn by a trembling pen. My fingers suddenly felt cold. Not fear, instinct. Some words live not in the mind, but in the objects that carried them. I turned on the recorder on my phone and began reading aloud. The moment I spoke the first line, the single lamp above me flickered. Just old wiring, I told myself. I didn't know then that this was the first time the past slid into the present. Entry number 1, April 3rd, 1952. If you're reading this, it means I've either been transferred, erased, or Echo has done what I feared from the very first day. My name is L.T. Samuel G. Hark, United States Air Force, cryptographer. Today I've been assigned a new task, intercepting an anomalous radio packet, supposedly coming from nowhere west of Salt Lake City. The commander simply said, "Do the work. Don't ask questions." And normally I wouldn't. But when he said anomalous, Captain Kelly, a man made of iron, averted his eyes and clenched his jaw. I laid out the intercept schema, scanned the frequencies. This isn't any code I know, and it isn't a language. It's more like a pattern inside silence, cut through by short bursts. The frequency drifts, like someone plucking a string that doesn't follow our physics. I caught myself thinking, whoever's sending this isn't speaking, they're remembering. Entry number 2, April 12th, 1952. Echo. That's what they call it behind closed doors. Officially, unidentified signal interaction, not UFO. No, they avoid the word object. They say interaction. Some even say return. I've been breaking down the first fragments. When you convert them into spectrum, you can see a pulse. Like a heartbeat, but not a heartbeat. A rhythm trying to latch onto our time. But each millisecond it misses, the equipment ripples like water struck by an invisible hand. 2 technicians got burns on their fingers without touching a thing. That night I dreamed of a corridor filled with white light. I walked barefoot, and behind me something whispered my last name, chewing on the consonants like they didn't belong. I woke up with split lips, as if someone had tried to speak my name the way it wanted. Entry number 3, May 1st, 1952. They took me down. The elevator had no buttons. Someone else decides which level you deserve. Captain Kelly stood beside me, his eyes fixed straight ahead, unblinking. They showed me the oscilloscope chamber, but that wasn't the important part. In the center, behind 3 layers of reinforced glass, stood a structure, black and glossy like a lake at night. Not geometry, the imprint of geometry, like a burned scar on the fabric of space. Echo isn't just a signal, it's a trace. Of what? When I pressed my hand against the glass, the oscilloscopes behind me spiked, as if something had inhaled. And then, through 6 concrete walls and a sealed helmet speaker, I heard my own voice whisper, "Samuel," but I hadn't said a word. Entry number 4, May 9th, 1952. They forced me to replicate the rhythm. They said echo would stabilize if I did. I sat with the headset on, my fingers on the telegraph keys, tapping not letters but pauses, long and short in precise distortions. For a moment, the entire bunker held its breath. The air grew denser, as if someone had put their weight on the world's chest. My neck burned, sweat turned icy. Frost bloomed across the inner glass of the black structure's chamber, swirling like breath on a winter window. In that frost, a handprint appeared, slightly larger than mine, fingers tapered like gloves with no seams. I hadn't touched it. No one had, but the handprint stayed. Kelly called it an optical artifact. He's lying. It was an answer. Entry number 5, May 20th, 1952. Nobody believes me, but Echo is learning. The intercepted rhythm has changed. There's structure now that wasn't there yesterday. It's as if they know we're listening, and they're adapting to our instruments. Sergeant Whitmore disappeared last night. End of shift, on his way to the showers. Towel still dry. Security footage static. White snow on every camera. Kelly wiped the logs clean. As if for 1 minute this place was turned off. Entry number 6, June 2nd, 1952. They grounded me, like a child who played with matches. They said I was becoming too emotional, but twice last night the equipment shook for no reason. So I did what they told me not to do, I answered. I waited until the guard rotation, powered up the backup generator, and tapped out my own heartbeat recorded from a damaged pulse meter. Stupid idea. Pointless. For 3 seconds, everything went silent. Not silence you hear, silence that hears you. And then it knocked back, not matching my rhythm, wrapping around it, like a hand closing over a fist and leading. My chest tightened. My heart tried to follow it. Entry number 7, June 10th, 1952. They brought in a man from another sector. The medic said, "Phase overlap." He lay there with his eyes open, unblinking. When the lamp above him flicked on, metallic dust spilled from his pupils. But when I stepped closer, nothing. Gone. A guard flushed a toilet down the hall. I closed my eyes at the sound, instinctively, and in that moment it felt like the water flowed upward. I keep seeing thin cracks in the air, like heat shimmer, but they're cold. When you look through them, the walls seem narrower. I'm afraid to measure. Entry number 8, June 17th, 1952. I asked Kelly, "Is it a weapon?" He said, "It's a set of possibilities." I said, "It's studying us." He said, "Then we must be interesting." I said, "Too interesting." He looked at me for a long time, then whispered, "Son, there are things we control, and things that simply allow us to be nearby." Entry number 9, July 1st, 1952. Today they had me read voice samples. First normal phrases into a mic, then the same phrases in reverse order, then without vowels. Halfway through, my own voice answered from the speaker, but not my voice. Slightly lower, breath by breath, like someone else wearing my memory. "Samuel," it said. Here, I replied. Samuel, it repeated, testing the shape of my heartbeat. 2 lamps flared twice as bright and shattered. Medics stitched my cheek glass, cracked like eggshell. Entry number 10, July 12, 1952. At night, when everyone was asleep, I took a sheet of paper and began to draw. I can't draw, never could. But my hand remembered something my mind didn't. I sketched a door, not opening inward or outward, turning inside itself, like a Mobius strip twisted into a threshold. I knew if you touched the right edge, the inside would become the outside. Kelly saw the drawing, snatched it, and locked it away. He said from now on I'd work only under supervision. Entry number 11, July 25th, 1952. I see echo now, not through instruments, but with my eyes. Not always, only in moments when I lie, even small lies. When that happens, there's a thin wave in the air, like someone laughing from another side of time. Turns out they don't hear words, they hear misalignments. Our mistakes are like beacons to them. Every night, in the dark, I whisper to myself, I am real. I'm here. Sometimes I swear, a second voice whispers the same thing a breath late. Entry number 12, August 10th, 1952. They found Whitmore, or rather, something, out in a dry gully behind the base. Not a body, just a shallow imprint in the sand. His dog tags were lying in it, warm as if pulled from a furnace, covered in fine soot that didn't stick to fingers. Kelly said nothing. I realized Echo understands what personal means. That evening, I heard the Mobius door open behind me. I didn't turn around. I clenched my teeth and whispered, not today. Why did I believe it would listen? Entry number 13, August 30th, 1952. They need a bridge. I realized this when, for the first time, we tapped out a perfect rhythm with no drift. A wave of tenderness filled me. Not ours, a function. When patterns align, connection costs drop. For a moment I wasn't a man. I was a cell in their lattice. I was a convenient shape. Entry number 14, September 9th, 1952. The plan is simple. I'll write their rhythm so it falls into silence like a stone into water. Counter pauses. If it works, echo will dissolve into us, stretching itself so wide it can't pull together again. It won't disappear. It'll just become too thin to gather. I'll pay the price. Maybe with myself. If you're reading this, don't repeat it. They can make even the abyss feel gentle. Entry number 15, September 10th, 1952. Final entry. The elevator without buttons takes us down. Kelly is silent. The cement smells like the wet boots of people who never came back. Through the concrete, I can already hear the heartbeat. Not mine. I've trained my fingers for weeks. Now it's all about breaths. I'll become a wall for them. If I'm lucky, a wall without windows. What's my name? Samuel. What's my name there? No one. If you found this, don't touch the glass with a warm hand. Warmth is what they recognize. I'm beginning. The ink trails off as if the page was smeared by a wet palm. At the bottom, uneven numbers, like metronome markings, and a single fingerprint, slightly longer than the others, like a glove without seams. Present day. I closed the diary. The lamp in the hangar went dark for exactly 3 seconds, I counted. In the silence, I heard my own breathing and something beside it, breathing between my breaths. I grabbed my phone. The screen glowed like something rising from deep water. The recorder showed no gaps in the timeline, but the file size had doubled. "All right," I said out loud, trying to shake the heaviness. "It's just a story." Outside, the wind slammed against the tarp, like someone correcting the rhythm in the dark. I tossed the diary into my backpack. Time to drive back. The moon hid behind clouds. The road to town was just a pale ribbon cutting through the desert. The engine started. The radio hissed to life. I turned the dial looking for music, something simple, human. 540 kilohertz, a pulse. 700 kilohertz, the same, a millisecond lower. 910 kilohertz, the same, now higher. I switched it off. In the silence, I could hear my heart. Inhale, exhale. For the first time that night, I felt genuine relief. No one else was breathing in that car. 20 minutes to town. I rolled the window down. Air poured in like water. Faraway lights, a few passing cars, the smell of gasoline. I leaned against the door, letting the tremor in my knees settle. This is the past, I told myself. Samuel did what he had to do. He closed what needed to be closed. This is just a document. At a red light, I pulled the diary out again. My fingers touched the USAF classified stamp. The cover was cold as metal in shade. On the inside cover, a thin layer of shimmering dust. I scraped it with my nail. It stretched like latex. Nothing stuck to my finger, but the fingertip felt cold. At the bottom of the last page, beneath Samuel's fingerprint, I saw a faint grid, converging toward a point that wasn't on the paper. An optical illusion, I told myself. Eyes love doors. Yellow light. Green. I pressed the gas. At home, I placed the diary on the table and opened the hangar recording on my laptop. I always listen back. It anchors me. At the 30-minute mark, right when the diary reads, "Don't touch the glass with a warm hand," my voice answers in the background. Here, I know I hadn't spoken. I remember the silence. But on the recording, I'm there. I rewound. Same thing. Analyzed the spectrum. 2 voices, separated by a fraction of a second. The second one, slightly lower. A breath lower. My throat tightened. The kitchen pipes popped. Old house. Window open, summer night. Cicadas outside. I walked past, and for a split second, I saw a hairline crack in the air like heat shimmer. I stepped closer. It vanished. I touched the glass with 2 fingers. Nothing. Then I pressed my whole palm. Warmth. A dull echo rolled through the frame. I jerked my hand back. Phone buzzed. A message from the old collector. About that box? If you want to return it, I won't mind. Let's just say it's not for everyone. Just let me know. I stared at the screen. Inside me, a metronome shifted. Somewhere in the room, in the bend of darkness, someone tapped my rhythm in reverse. Very softly. Easy to blame on the fridge. Easy to blame on tiredness. I opened the diary to the last page. The fingerprint, like a glove with no seams. I placed my palm beside it. Mine was smaller. They're always slightly larger. It's easier not to notice that way. I turned off the kitchen light. Darkness sharpens attention. I sat. The silence listened. Near the window, air stretched, almost inaudibly, like a thin film over a frame. I imagined the door. I didn't want to, but the mind loves to finish shapes. I knew what they were waiting for. They were waiting for a bridge. No, I said. Not today, and the silence smiled. It didn't retreat. It simply changed angle. I picked up a pen and scribbled counterpauses on a blank page. I'm no cryptographer, but I remembered what Samuel wrote. Misalignment is everything. I tapped out my own clumsy rhythm. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1. Pause, pause. 2. The listening silence stumbled. Just for a heartbeat. The air lightened. Cool breeze drifted through the window. Only my own breathing remained. Phone buzzed again. Same message. I'm home till midnight if you want to bring it back. I typed tomorrow, not because I believe in returning it, because what's written in ink is heavier when it lives in your house. Before bed, I placed a cold metal key on the diary. Metal on metal. Memory pressing memory. That night I woke once. It felt like someone stroked the cover from the other side. Maybe it was just a dream. Morning. Clear sky. Bitter coffee. Radio silent. I packed the diary, the key, an old adapter, habit. On the stairwell, a neighbor upstairs banged the floor. Kid playing with blocks. Earthly rhythm. I smiled. At the door, I paused. In the hallway darkness, I felt it. Another space layered beneath, just a bit narrower with walls that have no seams. I didn't turn on the light. I simply said to no one and everything, I am real. I'm here. The answer came like an echo a breath lower. I am real. I'm here. I didn't respond. I opened the ordinary door and stepped into the day, a day just like yesterday, but a little wider. Epilogue, they say every echo finds its shore, but not every shore chooses to become a harbor. Sometimes the shore is a person who misaligns the rhythm just enough to keep the world together. Not a hero, not a victim. Just someone who doesn't fit the pattern. I think about Samuel as I drive toward the collector's house. The buttonless elevator, the Mobius door, the fingerprints that don't match. I think that maybe on that day he also said, not today, and maybe that's why we still have mornings. At a stoplight, the car radio still, turned off, gives a faint, low rumble. My hand moves toward the volume knob, but I don't turn it. I rest my palm on the dashboard, cold, and I wait. In return, nothing. Perfect. I tap out on the steering wheel, deliberately crooked. 1, 2, pause, 1. Pause, pause. 2. The day swallows the sound. And that's enough.